Ecuador was once perceived as a haven of peace, sandwiched between the cocaine-producing Colombia and Peru. The small South American nation was renowned as world's top exporter of bananas and also home to the biodiverse Galapagos Islands, where the British naturalist Charles Darwin developed his theory of evolution. However, in the last 5 years, things have taken a turn for the worse. Large ports, lax security and endemic corruption have lured foreign drug cartels to its shores. These drug cartels have increasingly felt the heat of war on drugs in countries like Mexico and Colombia, thereby turning their attention to a nation like Ecuador. Ecuadorian prisons have turned into veritable battlegrounds between these narco-gangs. On the 12th of August, Ecuadorian Army and the National Police raided the prison number 4 in Guayaquil. Cocaine, marijuana, ammunition, mobile phones and unauthorized electrical appliances were seized in this raid. Our next report gets you more details.
Ecuador is not infamous for large plantations of drug crops or even laboratories. What then explains its newfound notoriety in the last 5 years as a global drug hub? Well, the strategic location of Ecuador, wedged between major cocaine-producing nations of Colombia and Peru, combined with lax security, have catapulted it to the status of new nerve center for the global drug trade. No place exemplifies this more than Guayaquil, Ecuador's biggest city and home to the country's biggest port. Guayaquil has rapidly ascended to become the epicenter of Ecuador's crime problems as narco-gangs took advantage of its location and logistics to ship drugs abroad. Hundreds have been killed, some even dismembered and burned to death in gang wars that have largely played out in countries' prisons, mainly in Guayaquil, in the battle for the control of drug routes. Anyone daring to stand up against these narco-gangs is silenced. 59-year-old centrist Fernando Villavicencio, a journalist and an anti-corruption crusader, was one of the leading presidential candidates and an outspoken critic. He was gunned down less than 2 weeks before the presidential elections. Assassinated hitman style with 3 shots to the head, he had received multiple death threats from Los Choneros, one of Ecuador's most powerful criminal gangs and allegedly the armed wing of a Colombian drug cartel. 6 Colombians were arrested in raids carried out in southern Quito and a neighboring town. Villavicencio's successor termed his assassination a transnational crime.
Fernando Villavicencio,
I'm almost certain that he was assassinated because he told him that he would militarize the ports, and we are going to maintain that as a principle.
There
is a transnational mafia behind his death. This must have been generated by various points in agreements with decisions taken in Ecuador at the highest level. We cannot continue the investigations if we do not have the participation of Colombia.
The assassination of Villavicencio put crime at the forefront of everyone's mind leading up to the elections. 2 years earlier, Haitian President Jovenel Moïse had been shot dead by allegedly a Colombian hit squad. Both these assassinations have spotlighted the export of culture of political hit jobs. Following the shock assassination of Villavicencio, a state of emergency was declared in Ecuador on the 10th of August. A couple of days later, 3,600 armed forces and police carried out a joint security operation in prison number 4 in Guayaquil. The operation was undertaken to transfer José Adolfo Macias, considered to be the leader of the criminal group Los Choneros, along with 2 others to a maximum security prison, La Roca. Macias, also known as Fito, was accused by the slain presidential candidate Villavicencio of making death threats against him. The assassination of Villavicencio was a pivotal moment for the Ecuadorian security industry as well.
The attack against the presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio was without a doubt perhaps the straw that broke the camel's back. The demand that we have from clients, politicians, mayors' offices, prefectures have turned to search, to look for, to find alternatives to protect themselves as a result of what happened last week.
The grim statistics narrate a bleak tale. At least 420 lives have been lost in about a dozen drug gang riots in Ecuadorian prisons since 2021. In 2022, Ecuador's murder rate almost doubled compared to the previous year. And in the first 6 months of this year, 3,568 violent deaths were recorded, a spike of 70% on last year. For a poor country like Ecuador, the fight against the lucrative drug trade is a mammoth task. Whether the presidential elections give Ecuador a leader with the will and stomach for such a fight, that's the question on every Ecuadorian's mind.